it is our great pleasure that we have both Vishakha Mataji and Dwarakadhish Prabhu with us today. Dwarakadhish Prabhu is not a new personality for us because we have been seeing him in Bangalore previous years also. But just to have some purification of myself, I was given the task of introducing both Mataji and Prabhuji, and I have a little bit of introduction for them. Dwarakadhish Prabhu, as we all know, that he is a postgraduate in medicine from Bombay University. He is a head of department and one of the founder members and trustees of the Bhaktivedanta Hospital and Research Center located in Mira Road in Mumbai. His search for meaningful life led him to Krishna consciousness in 1982 during his undergraduate years. Vishakha Priya Mataji got introduced to Krishna consciousness in 1985 when she was in 9th standard, and both of them got initiated in the year 1986. Of course, at that time, they did not know each other. They entered into Grahastha Ashrama life 4 years later in 1990. And in fact, they were the first couple to get married at the very, very lotus feet of Sri Radha Gopinath in Radha Gopinath Mandir. Both of them loved to do things together. They took up service as spiritual counselors in 1992 and have been striving to help devotees, especially in their Grahastha Ashrama life. To this end, they have been traveling to several centers in India like Calcutta, Nasik, Pune, Kolhapur, and even Bangalore, because they had given a lot of seminars about Grahastha Ashrama in Bangalore also earlier. And they also traveled abroad to Malaysia, Mauritius, Bahrain, USA, and many other countries. They are a part of the Grahastha Vision team at Radha Gopinath Mandir, and also they organize a lot of premarital training programs. Mataji has been with the IYS, girls preacher. She has been a girls preacher and has been organizing summer camps for them since over 18 years in various centers. They both have been regularly performing deity worship once in a week at Chowpatty Temple for last 25 years. Another service they love to do is to perform and act in dramas at the annual drama festival. Those who have not seen his dramas, I had an opportunity to see one of his dramas when I happened to be in Bombay. So Prabhuji and Mataji can give a lot of videos which they share with all of us. So they are extremely good. These dramas are extremely good. They are like professionals, even better than professionals, I would say. So I would especially like to have one incident which Mataji narrated to tell us again about the Abhishek ceremony of the deities with soap. That we remember very fondly. So I invite both of you, Prabhuji and Mataji, to grace this occasion and enlighten us on your interactions with Guru Maharaj and a lot of pastimes sharing. We can promise that we are as enthusiastic as you are to share this. So over to both of you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Venkat Govind Prabhu. Thank you all dear Vaishnavas of this beautiful God family. Pranam Subrat Kishore Prabhu, Gopinath Pran Prabhu, many wonderful Vaishnavas, many wonderful Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis who have taken shelter of the feet of Sripad Radhanath Swami Maharaj, our beloved Gurudev. Let us offer our pranams first to our parampara as we do always, and then we start some narration discussion. Those who are not very conscious of their external appearance can probably just give their darshan.
I'm sure you must have been hearing this from everybody who's speaking.
Because it will enthuse speakers to I guess bring out a little more
Personal
connectivity with devotees, and the net output will be, I think, superior if there is exchange of reciprocation.
Yeah, Gokul Chandra Prabhu was there, very bold.
Om तिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जन चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुताप्तकमलं श्रीगुरुवैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते पेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। At the very outset, we would all like to celebrate, the right word is celebrate our unlimitedly good fortune, which we all of us share in common. We all have diverse backgrounds, we all come from in various ways, we're all different people, and yet there is something so special which binds all of us together. The special thread which weaves us all into a beautiful garland. And that garland is in the hand of somebody as special as Radhanath Swami Maharaj, our worshipful spiritual master. And the garland is something which he is preparing of flowers, and those flowers will go and be offered to, through Srila Prabhupada, up the parampara, the divine couple, Shri Radha and Gopinath. So, our society of ISKCON has, as Giriraj Maharaj wrote this nice book, some of you may have read it and seen it, called Many Moons. And in that, Sripad Giriraj Maharaj talks about his personal interactions and his glorification of some of the veteran stalwarts of our society, like Sridhar Swami Maharaj and many others, Bhakti Tirtha Swami, who are, as Prabhupada is like the moon, but it's not the only moon. This moon is like a touchstone, and therefore this moon has touched the lives of so many, and it created not one but many moons. This analogy of Giriraj Maharaj comes from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So today we'll be talking about one such effulgent moon in the firmament, in the skyline of ISKCON, who is contributing so wonderfully to illuminate this dark world. And not just a dark world, but more specifically and more personally, illuminating our own hearts, right? And therefore, our hearts can only flow with more gratitude as 7th December comes closer and closer. Today we are on just 1 week away from that very holy day, which we say, Janmashtami, Radhastami, Yantradashi. Yes, this is the appearance of Guru Maharaj is called as the most blessed day. You may have seen that. That's how it writes in the Vyasa Puja books. And you may have also probably offered your Vyasa Puja offerings to Maharaj by email. So we would like to talk about one such special moon who has illuminated our lives. And what we will going to share is something which you have probably, I know that there are other speakers who have spoken before us. My brother Sridhama has spoken, and Adhikesha Prabhu and his good wife has spoken. And who else has spoken? And Vishal Prabhu and Mataji has spoken. So, and all of course, Maharaj is not somebody whom we don't know, but by hearing this and talking about him, we are wanting to do two things. The purpose has to be defined. Why we are all talking here together. The purpose is, one is to increase our appreciation for our good fortune, right? In Kali Yuga, we say everyone is manda bhagya hi upadritaha, always disturbed and full of always, bad fortune, bad fortune. But in one sense, we are, exclusive group in one sense, that we are having no bad fortune, but we have the greatest fortune of having Maharaj. So that increases our appreciation. And as appreciation increases for anything in life, anything, as a general principle, we also will become more and more conscious of the value of that treasure. And that will increase our love or increase our attachment to his lotus feet, which then gets transformed in a mature way to offer our body, mind, and words and our very life in his divine holy service by following his good instructions. So when these two things happen, then all that we are trying to all do together will have so much more meaning. So among the various things which impress all of us who have seen him very closely is Maharaj's very, very clear vision. We say he's a missionary, we say he's a visionary, right? Now, visionaries are people who see things which people who are with ordinary vision cannot see. But only with time, when time goes, then that vision has unfolded sufficiently enough for even people who are with ordinary vision to see, okay, yes, this has happened, right? Like Prabhupada saw ISKCON way before it actually even was born. He was a visionary, right? He would tell Mr. Rubin, the subway, ticket collector, that there are many temples, there are many devotees, millions of books, but time is separating, right? So Maharaj also is one of those visionaries where he actually has a clear idea as to where he wants to go. And what Maharaj has done and is essentially doing now, even when he is now 70 years old, and he did it when we met him for the first time. I remember having his holy darshan in 1983-84 at Juhu temple, when Gopinath was not there, when we were still non-existent in terms of the identity as Radha Chopati temple. So he was sitting up there on a swing at one of the towers of the twin towers of Radha Rasa Bihari temple at Juhu. So that time, of course, he was how old? He was 34 years old. Now he's 70 years old, right? Nonetheless, the consistency of Maharaj is something which is wonderful. Everything has changed, as we say, change is the only constant. But Maharaj's vision is so clear, and that has not changed. And what is that vision? From the very beginning and till date, and we all know that in Yatras and all the lectures we hear, that creating a foundation for all his disciples and followers based on the process of Navida Bhakti, especially Shravan and Kirtan. No matter what projects have come, Gopal's Garden, Bhakti Hospital has come, GV has come, Brooklyn Temple has come, and this and that, and so many things have happened. Over the years, Maharaj has touched, and like a touchstone has, have so many projects come through him, and yet, as we say, Maharaj is definitely project oriented, but behind the project are the people, and for caring for the people, he has always been conscious to never underestimate, but always strongly emphasize the need for Prabhupada and Kirtan. And of course, between that time and now, there's a difference, because at those days when Maharaj was staying in that room, and of course, some of you have seen that room, I'm sure, at Chopati Temple, that room has not changed. Imagine Maharaj in as a resident sannyasi, the same room, the same size, everything the same, except that the walls earlier were all peeling off and everything else, and the walls are now filled with the flavor of gobar. It is now Vrindavan, the cows of Vrindavan, which Maharaj loves, and which is now beautifully decorating his room. So it's probably the only room in the whole of Bombay which has got somebody's house covered with cow dung dust. So in those days, we can fondly remember today that the room would that is like, in Ram Rajya, the doors never close. So, that's because it's something like that. The rooms are always open. And literally, Maharaj wasn't a global leader at that time. He wasn't a GVC that time. He wasn't a guru that time. He was a simple resident sannyasi. And it is very amazing that whoever came in contact, all of us know this, come in contact, being like a magnet, he automatically gets drawn. There is something so special about Maharaj that immediately you feel a sense of attraction. Practically, it is not about his demeanor or his charisma or his Western body skin features. It is just the soul from within the heart gets attracted to Maharaj, just like iron filing gets attracted to a powerful magnet. And we would all be all like those rusted filings. We were just hanging around in colleges doing various crazy things which all of us did in college, trying to study, supposed to be studying our medical work and everything else. But whenever there was time, you can ask Vishakha, Priya, she will tell you a little more. She was not doing medical college, she was doing a more easier course. We would be wanting to just go and be with there in that small room, right? And I can tell you that room, it is probably maybe just 10 by, not even 10 by 10, maybe a little smaller than that also. And that we packed up with 6, 7, 8, sometimes 15 devotees, can barely sit together. And then Maharaj would speak a few nice things, the words of love and encouragement, and then would take out his harmonium. And then he would start singing songs in kirtan, right? And the only way you can reciprocate to that is to just close your eyes and get completely absorbed. You see what happens is when Maharaj does kirtan, or for that matter, anyone who gives any lecture, to the extent the person who's speaking is absorbed the subject of what he is doing, he also, also brings the audience also to the same, in the fold. So Maharaj has been a person who always gets so deeply involved in whatever he does, right? When we talk of Harinam, it would be such a deep absorption. And when you see videos, you will see his eyes are closed and clenched tight, and his, what you call as external jugular vein, we call it. These veins are as jutting out completely, his red, flushed, pink face, and is playing the kirtan, and that would bring us to our feet, right? And we could only reciprocate just by dancing. There was no place to dance, but still we were all dancing, right? And this is something which we have been doing many, many times. Maharaj would sit in a bus going to a yatra, and see, when you're with Maharaj, you cannot be just dozing away doing nothing. So you just, no. If you're with Maharaj, if you happen to be lucky to be in the car where he's going somewhere with his friends or some senior Prabhupada disciples, if you just happen to sneak there, if you're lucky, right, then you can be sure that that place is not a place where everyone is just daydreaming. There will always be Krishna Katha and Krishna Kirtan. So,
in fact, I remember that was the condition on which Maharaj would allow us to sit in the car.
yeah.
If we would all be just standing around the car when Maharaj was going, and then Maharaj to some program where maybe sometimes, everybody's not invited. So Maharaj said, would you like to come and join for the program? I said, but Maharaj, we are not invited. So just to make everybody feel special, he would say, doesn't matter, but you are my chief guest, so you can come in the car. So we just jump into the car, but he said, you have one condition on which you can sit in the car. Now, what is that condition? Till we reach the destination, Krishna Katha has to be going on. Like you speak one story, when you end, the next one speaks, next one, only then you can sit in the car. So I'm remembering what Prabhuji said.
So this is so wonderful, because I remember one day you were at Siddham Mayapur, and after the yatra was over in the month, this is the earlier part of Mayapur. It's not now when things are like super organized. There's a little more, less organized, but equally ecstatic, I would say. Days where things were more informal, not structured, as you can say. So after the evening prasad was over, Sandhyarti was over, Sandhyarti is done. So everyone's dancing, singing, as you can understand in Mayapur, it's like a roaring Sandhyarti going on. Then you go for a rush for prasadam, and then there will be a secret message which somebody would give, hey, Maharaj is doing kirtan in his room. And it would not be like a public, because they didn't want the whole Mayapur community to come into his room, right? So it's like like a special, no internet, no SMS, no emails, right? So, Maharaj, there's some people in this room. And we were just, wow. So we only tired for the whole day. We had a roaring Sandhya Arti, which we had danced like crazy for about 1 hour. Then he had heavy prasadam. But if Maharaj and Kirtan, then there is no question of any consideration. You just had to rush there. Not like the gopis ran towards Krishna, but
there was a pull.
there was a pull. There was a pull which was unseen pull, which we all had to go and sit there. And I remember one of those nights sitting there, and it was a moonlit night. I could see the moon beyond, from Maharaj's window and from the balcony. And after some Kirtan, Maharaj said, so let's have Krishna Katha. And so he asked different people to speak. I don't know what other people spoke. I don't have such a great memory, but I do remember what I spoke. So he said, Dwarakadhish, your turn. Right? So then I remember I spoke the story of the Madan Mohan and the salt pastime, which the Lord, enacted with Krishnadas Kapoor.
Or Nishan Prabhu is sitting with Madan Mohanji in the background.
Yeah. So I remember the story. It was and it still is one of my favorite stories to remember how Krishna, was so fascinated by something as insignificant and small like salt, But that is the dealing which he had with Sanatana Goswami. I spoke that. So that was something which was wonderful. Those kirtans were very endearing.
I'm just remembering as Prabhuji is saying that how with Maharaj around, he would just ensure that, there is no
Wastage
nonsense or no waste. I remember one time Maharaj had come to Meera Road, and we used to have every Tuesday, Maharaj used to come in the initial days when Bhaktivedanta Hospital was under construction. So he would come every Tuesday and take a report. How much is done, what is the plan for the next week, and give inputs of what color the hospital should be and where the temple should be and what prayer should be chanted. So one such time there was and then he would come to one of our homes for prasad, and all the doctors would gather in that particular doctor's home. So this time it was during, I think, the monsoon season, and we were all at Krishna Prem Prabhu's house. Dr. Krishna Prem Prabhu, some of you might be knowing him. He's a surgeon. He's in Canada right now. So we were at his place and we all finished prasad. And while having prasad, Maharaj told Dwarakadhish Prabhu, can you read something for me? He doesn't like to waste even any time. Yeah. If you want to, Inima pastime, you want to tell after this.
Okay.
Sorry, we are just flowing as the thoughts are coming. There is nothing planned. So Dwarakadhish Prabhu just opened the Krishna book and it opened on the chapter of Kaliya, Krishna Kaliya, So how Krishna subdued the Kaliya demon, and how the cowherd boys were playing, and Kaliya was in the Yamuna lake and the ball fell there, and Kaliya, the tussle between Krishna and Kaliya, and how then Krishna finally jumped on the hoods of Kaliya. And Maharaj finished prasad and he washed his hands and he again sat down and he told, thank you to Dwarakadhish Prabhu. And somebody just said, Maharaj, this is Krishna's arrangement. Today is Naga Panchami. And it just happened that, Krishna Kaliya pastime, Dwarakadhish Prabhu happened to read. So Prabhuji said, oh, I really didn't know. I just opened and it just happened. So Maharaj said, okay, now that it is Naga Panchami today, all of you will tell us some snaky pastimes, snake pastimes. So everybody on the spot, everybody had to think some snake pastime, Takshak pastime or something, everybody narrated. And then Maharaj was left. So I was saying, do you want to hear one pastime from me? So everybody said, yes, Maharaj, yes. And it went way beyond till evening. It was pouring cats and dogs outside, and inside it was pouring nectar. We were all hearing. Like under Govardhan, it was happening same way. And it was a stormy night.
Someone said that.
A stormy evening, and we all were telling Maharaj, you may not be able to go back to Gopinath temple because the road, there's all floods and there's all storm outside. But we were absolutely carefree, because we are with Maharaj. So then Maharaj said that would you like to hear the first day of my visit in India? That time Journey Home had not come out. This is years before this.
Yeah.
Maybe it is in what? When was hospital construction?
98 we began.
Maybe 96, 97, something began. Around that time. So then Maharaj narrated, we have read in Journey Home now, Maharaj said, how he landed at Chandni Chowk, and then, as soon as he came on Chandni Chowk, somebody put that python on him, and he said the snake was just gaping into his mouth. And See, it is a very serious thing what Maharaj was conveying. He was in a predicament like that, but he has that knack of making you laugh at whatever he speaks, He doesn't want us to take it in such a. So we, without realizing the seriousness, and he went into much more detail than he has gone into Journey Home. And he made everybody laugh and laugh and laugh. So then he spoke about the chili pepper pastime and the snake pastime and the bhang pastime. So then he said, okay, that was my first day in India. And we were like, and he spoke in great detail. So Maharaj never tells a pastime in short, like how we convey. But the smallest detail he will elaborately tell. So he went into such details, and then he said, would you all want to hear my second day in India? And that time, we have not heard anything. He said, please, Maharaj, we do want to hear. And then second day, he started telling about that conference, the peace conference which was there, and everybody, Sadhu Sammelan, snatching the mic and everything. And then he was actually imitating and acting, how each of the people would snatch the mic and they would want to speak, and they thought they are the most to speak on. And then he said the second day, and then he finished. By then it was already dark outside. And saying, would you all care to hear about my third day? And like we were all in such bliss, because this is the very first time Maharaj just brought it out, these pastimes of Journey Home. So I was just remembering that Maharaj never wastes any time. Nag Panchami, then all snake pastimes he was telling. And then I connected to that.
So I was
same theme
called in for offering some medical services to Gurudev, and all of us know that one of the processes for good health is to take enemas, right? I think some of you may have taken enemas yourself also, right? So we were at Karla. This was
for 1 month.
For 1 month, we were offering some.
I think it was 2002
cleansing.
When we did the Mahaprakash drama that time.
Yeah, we involved in some cleansing procedures for Maharaj. And of course, we went into the bathroom, and I was supposed to administer that enema to him, which I did. What is necessary. So while the enema fluid goes into your system, right? Then it takes time for the whole stuff to take place, and whatever has to go on with the body, and then after some time, then you have to clear your stuff up, right? So even during that time, which is not a long time, but what a time is there, he was very, very keen that there should be kirtan going on, right? So he was kirtan, and like lecture was going on. And so he wanted that even during that time when that time is spent in bodily cleansing, it should not get him so involved with, it is his body, but he wanted to keep himself, brightened up and illuminated by his Gurudev's words. And after some time, when I went inside, Maharaj, the lecture had stopped, Maharaj was standing on his fingers with such rapt attention, deep absorption. So even in a place like that, right, hearing Gurudev's words, and there's no feedback in that place, right? But he was chanting on his fingers, he was in deep meditation. So I was amazed at how would somebody be, in a washroom and be absorbed in Harinam. So it was a private thing. He was not expecting me to be there, but I saw. So I could see that he's so very, it's almost mystical for me that he was chanting with such deep absorption. And then, of course, Maharaj has, as he said, the knack of making things very light sometimes. When he wants to make it very light, he can make things light, and he wants to make it very grave. I can tell you honestly, when Maharaj wants to make things grave and serious, it is like, Dhruv Maharaj, when the Lord entered his body, the earth went down, right? The weight of the universe was in Dhruv Maharaj's body. So if Maharaj has decided to make something, not decided in the sense, if something is worthy of being serious of, there is no question of anyone ever even misunderstanding the atmosphere. It is like heavier than the universe practically. But this time he wanted to make it light. So Maharaj said, chuckling first. He said, so I was just like getting, what am I going to say now? So I said, Dwarakadhish, do you know who is the consort of enema? So it was a baffling question. So who's the consort of, so I said, the concept of enema is enemy. So I said, what enemy? So I said, okay, I caught it. I tried to catch the joke, So I said, Maharaj, yes, enemy. And so I said, Maharaj, who's enemy? So you can tell. So I said, Maharaj, enemy, yes, it is enemy. The enemy means the enemy of your disease. So this consort, if you take charge of, it will drive away your disease from your body. And we both started just laughing and chuckling over there. So yeah, Maharaj has this very special thing. I remember another medical pastime. As I said, during this time in Kerala, we were offering him various juices. It was like what is called as, now it's popular. At that time, it was just new in the world among naturopaths. It's called as juice fasting. It is not fasting alone, but it's juice fasting. It means you prepare various types of juices, vegetable juices, fruit juices, and allow the body to get cleansed of all the stuff inside. So, and I was doing a lot of reading that time, and I was trying to figure out what are the best thing we can offer to Maharaj so that he can build up his body again, strong, vibrant, and enjoy good health. And then, of course, through that health, serve Prabhupada for a long, long time. So I figured out that one of the special things which are available in the world which can help is something called as a royal jelly. So for some of you may know this, royal jelly is coming from the bees, right? The bees are the honeybees. They are called drones. They are called worker bees. The drones, they go around and they go into all the flowering areas or gardens, and they pick up this honey and they bring it. And a very special part of that honey is extracted, and that honey is fed to a very special bee called as the queen bee. And the honey which she produces out of that is called as royal jelly, right? So that royal jelly is like the essence of the entire honey process. And the royal jelly is so special that when the honeybee actually eats that a drone has a life of something like a few weeks, but when the royal jelly is fed to the queen bee, then she actually lives for about 5-6 years, and she produces generations and generations of drones. So I said, Maharaj, we are giving this to you so you can have a long. So Maharaj said, if I take this, I'll become like the queen bee, have a long, long life. So I said, Maharaj, yes, you'll have a long, long life. And then he said, how amazing it is. Maharaj just became a little more reflective. How amazing it is that this small honeybee, we don't have the honeybee, how small they are, but they have such an organized, intelligent process by which they know exactly to go to which flowers, they know exactly to pick up the honey from those flowers, to bring it back, assimilate it, and make those hexagonal structures, which you call as the beehive, which are geometrically so perfect, right? I mean, it's like someone has drawn a line of 6 of hexagon and stored within them through waxy substances which are stuck to the wall. And then they all know that they're supposed to not be eating that themselves, but manufacturing from that this royal jelly, which is like general honey and royal jelly, and give it to the queen bee. And all of them are subservient to the queen bee. They are like, servants of the queen bee. So Maharaj began to said, this is so wonderful to see that this is called as perfect varnashram. Even the honeybee, the beehive also shows a perfect varnashram above everyone is doing their work and ultimately serving the highest authority, which is the queen bee, right? And so then he asked this question. He said, I think I asked a question. Where does this intelligence come from? I think I asked a question, yes. But how does intelligence come from such a, I cannot think of it medically that the small brain within the head of the honeybee has got such intelligence. He said, not from the brain. He said, that comes from the Paramatma. It comes from the Paramatma, because the Paramatma gives the honeybee that intuitive knowledge of where it's supposed to go and what it's supposed to do. So I became like, wow, this is a great answer. And how, Maharaj is completely in touch with the super soul, and he understands these things so beautifully. And it made me understand, yes, super soul is the one which gives what we call as intuition. So intuitions, we say about intuition, I said, what is intuition actually? Till this point of time, I thought intuition is something which comes from some eureka in the brain. Some eureka takes place. Oh, yeah, I know how to do it now. Yeah, I know. But intuition is something which, if all of us have ever had an experience of intuition, that is not our creation. Intuition is coming from the Lord in the heart, right? Who gives you, as Krishna says, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, right? That from me, Mada Smriti Jnanam Apohanam. So from me comes intelligence. So even the honeybee gets intelligence from there, and maybe all of us also understand how we get intelligence on various things in that way.
In that forest fire first.
Oh yeah, and then at the same time, during the same era, when we were serving him in Kerala, so I was supposed to give him some herbs which were by nature hot, right? So some are cooling substances, some are heating substances. So all sorts of mixtures of things were going on. So I gave him a herb which was like real hot. And, Maharaj, his body is so delicate in one sense. He's tough. Maharaj is, to tell you honestly, what I've seen as a doctor is that Maharaj's body is actually so tough. He's really tough. He's a tough man. But yet he is like very, very delicate also. It is like a combination of, which I don't understand sometimes, how his body reacts to various things. He's tough on one side and can be very delicate, very soft, right? So we know how strong he has been through journey home and New Vrindavan days. I gave him this herb to swallow, and he put that in his mouth. It was in a decoction form, and it burned his throat. And I was like, and Maharaj put it in his throat, and he just, tears started flowing from his eyes. Like when you eat chili, what happens? We just start watering our eyes takes place. And I was like, oh my God, what am I doing to Maharaj? I was feeling pretty horrible about it, but that was the prescription. That was the, prescription of the naturopath which we were following. And he had said we should give this. And so I didn't want to change the prescription. I was just administering what was supposed to be there in the work manual. And Maharaj just closed his eyes, deep cleansed, his throat is burning. And I was feeling very sad. I was feeling very horrible about the whole experience of Maharaj. Maharaj opened his eyes. He said, Krishna is so wonderful. Krishna is so powerful. And I didn't know what to expect, what Maharaj will say. Maybe he'll say, Dwarakadhish, why are you giving such stuff? This, I don't know what he would say that time. But Krishna is so wonderful. He said, for us, we're going to take a small piece of some hot herb, may burn our throat. But Krishna swallowed an entire huge forest fire. And nothing happened to him. Right? We know the past time when after Kaliya Daman was over, the devotees, the Brajvasis slept on the bank of the Yamuna, and Kamsa sent this big demon to put the thing on fire. So I could see, and all of us can see, and we should see very, very clearly over here that, there is, when we say, Pratikshanasva dhanalo lupasya vande gurushi charanarvindam, right? We always sing this every day in our Guru Stakam prayers. So for a pure devotee, there is never a thing like separation. For us, it is rare to even get united with Krishna. Even during Harinam or during Japa, during Katha, we are like spaced out and our mind is going a million places, right? But for a pure Vaishnava, the union between the Lord and the pure devotee is so real and so eternally always there that in whatever what situation a pure devotee is, for him, his remembrance of the Lord is always an established fact. And we can never ever put a pure devotee in a situation where he forgets his Lord. Whether it is an example of a jelly, royal jelly, something as significant as like honey, and he connects it to Krishna, or something like a hot herb, he connects it to Krishna. So that's so beautiful to see that a pure devotee is always Krishna conscious.
Regarding the same connection, I just want to tell a point before I tell you about the treadmill thing. You can say it. No, but what basically all the devotees whom you must have invited, what we are all just narrating is mainly just a collection of what we have learned by observing Maharaj, by hearing from him, and just by being with him and interacting with him on different projects, or just being around. Since you have been hanging around for some time, as you say, we actually used to just hang around Maharaj. And subtly, whatever we could understand, whatever we could learn and grasp, this is just what we are able to. He's such a magnetic person that we are misers, that we could not even gather enough. But of whatever little we gathered, that is what we wanted to share of the understanding. Because who can say that they can understand a pure devotee? Nobody can understand him. But whatever small understanding is there, that mainly we saw about what type of leadership he had. As they say, technically, there are two types of leaders. One is performance-based leader and one is quality-based leaders, right? Those who perform things, they take up projects, they are like big book distributors or big temple managers, or they can, those who give results of projects. So those type of people become leaders. There's another who are quality-based leaders, that they are like, you're not done MBA or you're not done, IIT or anything, but just the inner qualities which you have. So many times you'll hear in lecture, Maharaj says that, actually I don't know much. I'm not so much educated. I'm, a school dropout or whatever way Maharaj says. But we can understand that how Maharaj is so deep in the science of, whether you call it human psychology or management principles or whatever you would call in the whole journey. So the way Maharaj has just brought about this Radha Gopinath temple, how it has come about, and the devotees, how he has nurtured them is just so miraculous. I mean, every devotee would love to talk about it. That we talk about devotee care. That how to take care of devotee care. Now they have like systems of devotee care, and they will have committees and subcommittees and all. But actually, just Maharaj just did it in a very spontaneous way, unplanned way or anything. But just because he had that genuine love and concern, every project in under Maharaj's, whichever temples are under Maharaj's care, that has come about. And all the devotees, like whether you call Radhesham Prabhu or Gauranga Prabhu or going to whoever is there, they all are subconsciously just following in the footsteps of what they have unconsciously absorbed. As we say, no, osmosis. The all of us who have studied science as children, we know osmosis, that just by being around, some things just stick on and it gets into you. So how he systematically, in one sense, he just made this preaching programs, the counselor system, whether you call, or the marriage board you call, yatras you say, or GEV itself right now, it's all just become very structured now. But initially, he just kept doing small programs, as Prabhuji said, in his room, he would just invite, okay, whoever is free, please come down for programs. So literally, we have given sleepless nights to all our parents because they used to think these children have gone mad. They just, they can't understand what do you do in that small room in the temple with the same person, every day. If you want, if there's some variety, is another thing. He takes you to the same yatra. Where are you going this year? Vrindavan. Where are you going this year? Mayapur. Huh? Next year, where are you going? Jagannath Puri. Fourth year, where are you going? Vrindavan again. Next, again Mayapur. Aren't there, isn't there any fourth or fifth place you all can go to? Same place, same person, same pastimes he will tell. It's not, okay, in Vrindavan, he is going to talk about Mount Everest. He's going to talk about Govardhan Mountain only, right? बोले आप लोगों को कंटाला नहीं आता है, means aren't you all bored? You should tell your Swami, take us to Nainital, Darjeeling, these some nice places. Some variety would be there, but they just couldn't fathom that how Maharaj could, year after year, right? How many yatras have been there, and how many yatras we all have attended? N number of times we must have gone, done Govardhan Parikrama, Vrindavan Yatra, and we know, okay, today is Diwali night and Maharaj is going to say the Diwali pastime. That how, Damodar Leela he will say. But still it is in such a mesmerizing way. So again, as we know, it is not the Katha. It is the spiritual energy which Maharaj himself, from him, he wants to just put it into everybody else, right? We all feel surcharged after we come back from Yatra. How is that? Because of the energy puts. So that's how we started doing small programs initially used to do. And he gave time. He invested time in some families. He invested time in Mahaprabhu's life, in Krishna Chandra Prabhu's life, in Srinathji Prabhu's life, in Sahadev Prabhu's life, Radha Krishna Prabhu's life. How much time he gave, okay, these have become the pillars of our temple today. It's not that, just by their money or their skills that they have become the pillars. It is because of the spiritual energy which Maharaj invested, and the whole families have come. Actually, there are whole dynasty. Maharaj always, when he refers to the senior devotees, he says, as a dynasty of devotees. They are devotees, their children, now their grandchildren. Everybody in their own way is showing their commitment to Srila Prabhupada's movement. How is it, that it is percolating so much? Because, a big chunk was given to the main tree trunk, and then that nourishes all the branches and the, twigs and everything. Even in the yatras, he just made it so like fun filled. and the bonding that took place, the intermingling between devotees. Many of us, like you all are staying in Bangalore, we are staying in Bombay, there are people in Kolhapur, people staying in US and Timbuktu, wherever. But everybody converges during Yatra. And it is just enough for us to know, okay, you are chanting Hare Krishna, I am chanting Hare Krishna, you love Radhanath Swami, we love Radhanath Swami. And how we all have landed up bonding. Did we ever realize, how that bonding is taking place? It is just because it's a vision, like Maharaj had to make bring about such opportunities where devotees can come together, interact, and develop bonds. So that's how today we feel our family environment, isn't it? We don't feel oh, you all are Bangalore devotees. We are all one, and that even once we just went to Sudhir Gopal Prabhu's house, and we remember when Kumari Daya said Sudhir Gopal Prabhu is coordinating this program. I said, oh wow, again we'll be able to do. So there is just what a wonderful vision of Maharaj. Even if you see the marriage board, which Maharaj has made about to create marriages between sincere boys and girls, what is it? It is simply a facility to stabilize the ashrams. We know that in Krishna consciousness, if we have to get fixed up, right, without getting the base of an ashram, we cannot become stable. Otherwise, if there are only young boys and young girls just hanging around in the temple, there will be all mishaps like they take place in the material world. This one is attracted to that one, and that one, in a very unhealthy way, relationships would take place. So again, that was Maharaj's vision to formalize that and give that type of structure to stabilize. So, now we can understand how Maharaj must have thought and what he must have done. But at that time, we were just flowing with the current, absolutely just flowing, flowing, flowing. And this again, as we said, no, that whenever devotees meet, we could also be doing Prajalpa. But by his example and by what we saw him do, we land up also when we meet each other. That's what we do, right? Many of us travel and preach. We go to different places for preaching. And in a day, Venkat Govind Prabhu arranges all programs when we come to Bangalore. 4-5 programs in a day, our Gopinath Pran Prabhu. We have days of discussion, hours of discussion. How those 2 days we will spend. Morning we'll have breakfast here. And sometimes Prabhuji and myself, when we are coming back in the flight, we are wondering, how did we land up becoming like this, just meeting people. But subconsciously, we are just following the footsteps of Maharaj. Maharaj used to do that. When he would, 2 days, he would say, okay, I'm coming to Meera Road. I want to meet as many devotees as possible. So he would visit 13 houses in 1 day sometimes. Or in 2 days, 13 homes he will go and meet. He'll have prasad here and he will talk to these people, and I'll have fruits over here and juice over here. So again, as we are saying, that everything has just by observing Maharaj, we could have learned much more, but whatever little bit we can, that's how Maharaj has established and taught everybody. He did not have to tell, okay, now chant 16 rounds, follow 4 regulative principles, preach in this way, distribute books in this way, be Krishna conscious like this. When you see a river, you should remember this. When you see, a deity, you should remember this. But it just by being with him and seeing. So again, coming to that pastime which Prabhuji would like to narrate about the treadmill, this forest fire thing, even whether you see a medicine or you are doing enema, whatever, how to connect Krishna in a most obvious way, that is what is Maharaj's specialty.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we're talking about the vision of a pure devotee. And Brahma Samhita says that Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva. A great soul is always connected with Sadaiva, always connected with Krishna. So this is a memorable thing. Some of you may have heard this. I may have some of the things I may have told before, but I think there's no harm in repeating if you have heard it before. So in the same very hospital which I'm sitting right now, Bhakti Vedanta, and on the first floor we have our cardiac, where Maharaj, since he is detached from all sorts of bodily situations, and yet because he knows his body is meant to be a vehicle for serving his Gurudev's mission, so he will sometimes tell me, Dwarakadhish, arrange a checkup for me, right? So Sir Maharaj will be most happy to do that at our own hospital, right? So Maharaj came over, and then one thing he wanted to check up it is his heart. So blood test and everything else was done, and then he was put on the treadmill. And we asked Maharaj to put all the electrodes, put all the wires, made him to hold the bar, and he put on the machine, and the machine, treadmill starts working, right? It goes like that. And Maharaj started walking, and then walking with bigger leaps, and then as the machine grows faster, then you have to pace with even longer strides, right? So that's the speeds are increasing. And I had my cardiologist friend next to me. His name also happened to be Venkat. He was also sitting next to me and said, I wanted to be sure that, that everything happens the way it should happen. So as the machine started getting speed, it was 6 minutes, and Maharaj was like very comfortable, just walking. Maharaj is not a very tall person. He's, I think, about 5'4" or something, right? So maybe 5'5". So and 7 minutes, and then 8 minutes, and then 9 minutes. So by now the machine is like really, fast. And Maharaj, from his whatever height his body has taken much long strides. And then it is 10 minutes. The machine is like really going fast, right? And his Maharaj is like big strides, fast. And it was very obvious that the heart has got no problem. If you can see that the heart is like, the ECG tracing coming through was absolutely normal, as expected. There was, beating of the heart was getting faster and faster, but there was no abnormal waves. There was no abnormal signal. So I said, let's stop the machine, right? Because Maharaj was like sweating now, sweating. His shawl was sweating, and he was sweating, and Maharaj just fart, going so fast. And it's 11 minutes are there. I said, Maharaj, we should stop. I said, no. I said, let's go. Maharaj has, and something unique about Maharaj, I'll tell you. Maharaj has this very unique quality of pushing himself to the limits of what he wants to do. He will not settle down for anything inferior or even mediocre or not even above average. He will do it to his max. It has to be the max. What is the best, or what is the max? What is the highest? So it is just his quality of his consciousness that he wants to just do the very best. So when he's doing his treadmill, he wants to get the best value out of that. So it is 11 minutes, it is 12 minutes, right? And I'm feeling Maharaj will fall off the treadmill because he's like galloping. He's like galloping so fast, cut. I said, Venkat, should we close it? And it was 13 minutes. And by now the machine was like was roaringly fast, right? And then I decided, Maharaj, I think it's enough. I don't want to put Maharaj into trouble, and if suppose he falls off and trips from the machine, it will be disaster, right? And I stopped, and the machine gradually came to a halt. And more than Maharaj, I was relieved that, the test is over, because handling a patient like Maharaj is no ordinary thing. You should know that Maharaj is a high energy patient with a complete transcendental state of consciousness. So he doesn't behave like a normal patient, like a normal individual. He is just, everything he does is extraordinary. So then after some time I said, Maharaj, the ECG is fantastic, your heart is very strong, blood flow is great, there's no coronary blockage, nothing. So they said, Dwarakadhish, what I was thinking during the treadmill? So please tell me. They're expecting something would be like transcendentally, Maharaj, one will say, some wonderful thing will say, sir. So when he was walking, the treadmill was opposite a window, and from the window, Maharaj was seeing the temple across. Some of you probably know that our hospital is very close to, just opposite, the next building practically is Radha Giridhari temple, right? Our ISKCON temple, Radha Giridhari ji, third temple of Bombay. So that window, you can see the temple is there, right? And Maharaj is walking in that way with that pace, and said, I was remembering the pastime of the Lord being chased by Kalayavan. In the rarest of my dreams, I could not imagine that somebody would think of that during a treadmill test. It's a mundane test. It's a bodily test. It's something which is like just for bodily health and coronary, coronary circulation. Where is Kalayavan? Where is Krishna? I mean, I could not even imagine, even in 100 years as a cardiologist or whatever, I could think of that pastime. But Maharaj was on the wheel and said, just like, Kalayavan is running fast, but yet he was like almost in the same place. He was not able to catch up with Krishna. So I was trying to run faster and faster, but trying to catch up with Krishna, right? That's the brilliance of Maharaj's consciousness. And that just, hearing all these things only makes us more endearing towards him, that how deeply is Maharaj always Krishna conscious. Right? Say something.
Yeah. So as again we are saying, okay, whatever Maharaj speaks or asks out of us, it is sometimes we might ask somebody to do something which we may not be able to do it ourselves, or we don't do it, which we don't do it ourselves. But for Maharaj, there is not even a single thing which you can find in what he has spoken that he has not done. So, I mean, if you were of that level, how much you would expect from other people to do? Na? That I am perfect, so everybody should be perfect. But for Maharaj, it is such a beautiful example that he's so strict with himself, but he's quite lenient with us, but he expects that, without asking, to raise our standard from whatever we are doing. So I remember, whenever devotees would lose their beads, initiated beads, I don't know if any of you all have had that experience. Hope you don't have that experience ever. But whenever somebody would lose the beads and come to Maharaj, Maharaj would become so very upset with that. He would say that, how can devotees lose their beads, their initiated beads? It is the way, the means of engaging in devotional service and getting connected to Krishna, right? Do devotees lose their engagement rings? He said, do they lose their wedding rings? They don't do that, right? They take so much care of them, then how can they lose their beads? So sometimes, in a very, cannot say jovial way, but he would refuse to chant on beads and give it back to them. So if you don't have it for some time, you will realize the value of it. So since then, all the devotees, they are so careful, and everybody knows that if I lose my beads, it's going to be like a very big thing. Maharaj will get really, really upset why I lost the beads. But in spite of that, he has such an encouraging way of correcting people, not in a direct way. Like one time during Vyas Puja, Rishabhanu Prabhu was narrating that when he had gone with Maharaj to Manipur, yeah, there was some conference or something, and it was only Rishabhanu Prabhu and Maharaj were there in the same room.
He's a scientist himself.
Yeah, Rishabhanu Prabhu he was a HOD chemistry head of the department in Bombay University while he was in work. But so he had arranged a program of Maharaj in Manipur. So he and Maharaj were in the same room, and I think Maharaj's servant was in another room. So in the night, Rishabhanu Prabhu slept, but he was very conscious that he snores. He snore, right? He was very loudly snoring. So even though he tried his best, but obviously, you have no control over yourself when you go to sleep, how you would have. So next day morning, he got up and he told Maharaj that, Maharaj, please forgive me. I'm feeling very bad that I must have ruined your sleep and, must have disturbed your sleep. Please forgive me for that because I snore very loudly. And he was like very apologetically telling Maharaj again and again. And Maharaj simply smiled at him, and I mean, if we were there, we would say, yeah, Prabhuji, it was disturbing, but I tolerated and whatever. Maharaj just smiled at him and said, don't worry, Rishabhanu Prabhu. I always use earplugs when I'm outside. And he just pacified him so much, but he did not tell him in that way. Even one time, Krishna Chandra Prabhu was narrating that Maharaj was, I think, in Italy or somewhere. And there was some message which Krishna Chandra Prabhu wanted to convey to him. So Prabhuji had called up. And he told the devotee that, I want to speak to Radhanath Swami. And because of the time difference, sometimes you don't know that what time is it there and what Maharaj would be doing. So he gave the phone to that devotee and he said, can I speak to Radhanath Swami? So that devotee said 1 minute and he went and told Maharaj. So Maharaj came on the line and saying, yes, Krishna Chandra Prabhu. So he conveyed the message to Maharaj. So Maharaj said, oh, such a small thing. I thought it was a very important thing. Actually, I was giving Bhagavatam class. I took a break in between the Bhagavatam class and I came, out over here. But it's okay, Krishna Chandra Prabhu. He just covered it up. So not that, somebody would say, wow, what is this? I was in the middle of the class and, you just disturbed the whole thing. So he's like very, very sensitive to everybody's needs and in a very, very gentle way. Like Venkat Govind Prabhu was asking me to narrate about that pastime of bathing the deities with soap. Even I love to narrate that and remind myself of the foolishness which we had. The initial days, we did not know how to bathe the deities and do deity worship. So that time Gopinath temple was not there. And the only Venkat Govind Prabhu, you are there, na? Narrating for your pleasure. And to remind myself, so we were at Mahaprabhu's house, and it was like a training center for all of us before dressing Gopinath. So he would tell us that you can dress the deities and you can bathe, but we never knew what it means. So his wife Palika Mataji, just because she was busy with something, she said, "Yeah, you undress the deities and you bathe them, and then the way you remove the dress, put the other set of clothes on them." And they have a garage, so we had to close the garage door and we were dressing inside. So suddenly, lot of soap and water started flowing out of the garage. And Mataji, the watchman or somebody must have told Mataji के आपके garage से बहुत पानी साबुन का पानी आ रहा है बाहर. So when we went inside, this is after several weeks and months of dressing. When she came inside and she said, "What are you all doing?" So, "We are bathing the deities. You told to bathe the deities." "No, this is not the way you bathe the deities. What we used to do is we would take the best soap available in the market, Mysore sandal soap, and then we poured water with a mug on the deities, and then would take the soap and actually rub it like the way we rub on ourselves, and then again take a bucket of water and then again pour it on the deities. So it would take us hours to dress. So after maybe 1 year or something, it was the appearance day. Everybody celebrates the anniversary of the deity, the car program going on. So Maharaj was there, Barsana Maharaj was there, and Maharaj said, "Okay, so this next Friday, during the Friday program, we will celebrate the anniversary of Radha Vrindavan network, and we will bathe the deities and dress." And as soon as he said that, our head started spinning, because for us, bathing the deities meant it used to take us 4 hours. 4-5 hours, bathing in this way, aram se pouring water, then clearing up the garage. So we told Maharaj, 4-5 hours it will take in 2 hours of the program. How will we do? So Maharaj asked us, why does it take you 4-5 hours? We explained, Maharaj, we pour water, then you have to put soap on the deity, then you have to wash. And Maharaj is just looking and laughing, He said, "Okay, we will do it in half an hour." And we thought, my God, Maharaj is a magician. How is he going to do it in half an hour? Huh? And then Maharaj said, "I will not tell you now. You just get 2 tubs and you come tomorrow for tubs for bathing." So we just brought the tubs and put it in front of the deities, and then Maharaj took a conch shell and just figuratively, he just welcomed the deities. Yeah, he welcomed the deities in the bucket, Manas Puja. Welcomed them mentally, and then he bathed them over there. And that got over in 10 minutes. And we said, "Oh, this is the way to bathe." So Maharaj, he did not chastise us or anything, but just imagine, how even Krishna tolerated us, even Guru has tolerated all our shortcomings, but he never ever chastised and said, "You fools, In fact, sometimes he would on a lighter side tell us when we would do crazy things, because at that time we were all 15, 16-year-old people just running around here and there, no maturity, no soberness to call it. In fact, so many of the people would say, "Okay, these people are all crazy." So Maharaj, in fact, would tell us that all you girls are crazy, but fortunately you all are crazy for Krishna, so no problem, you are saved. Otherwise, I do not know what would have happened to all of you. That was the way.
One of the most endearing qualities of Gurudev is his nature of being a very, very simple person, right? So generally speaking, we are very simple when we start off our Krishna consciousness, because we are new, we are naive. We are quite simple because everything around is very amazing, very astonishing. There are great devotees, best festivals, deities, etc. The beginning we are like very down-to-earth types. But as we grow, as we become more senior, as we become a little more accomplished in our bhakti, as we get to understand the whole thing better, then we start showing a different color. And especially if you start achieving things, then you become even a little more, sense of identity becomes even more stronger. But what we can definitely say is that Maharaj, over the last 30, 40 years that we have seen him, all of us have seen him, right? That he is just absolutely so very simple, right? And that's a powerful quality to really imbibe. There's a very nice picture of which we were just seeing yesterday, of Maharaj being one of the yatras and sitting right there in front of a simple, poor Brijbasi, was carrying a lota, a metal kalota, and he was just sitting there, and Maharaj is sitting in front of him and having a chit-chatting with him in a language which they don't even talk. There's no common language also over there. Right? So for Maharaj, what I have seen is that we used to go to there was a doctor who is no more now. His name is Pankaj Naram. And he just left his body maybe a year ago. Some of you may have heard of him. He was a very prominent Ayurvedic doctor in our country. So Maharaj became very good friends with him. And he had his pharmacy. He used to stay at Borivali, one of the suburbs of close to Mira Road. And he had his pharmacy at Malad. And he also had a pharmacy in Palghar. So he had two pharmacies. And Maharaj, honestly telling you, yes, at one level, he would probably want to go to a big program and where there are a lot of people are there. But Maharaj would tell me, Dwarakadhish, take me to Dr. Pankaj Naram's pharmacy. Now, who was in the pharmacy? They were just simple Marathi-speaking technicians who just knew labor, who were just laborers, who just knew how to mix up, this churna with that churna and make it into, put it into machine, and then machine would make it into tablets, and the tablet to be packed in some proper, in a proper container, and that container to be counted, and the container to be put into goni, and then the bag to be shipped somewhere else. It was just something like a conveyor belt where they do various things, of that sort of mechanical nature. And therefore, they were not like affluent, they were not big guys, they didn't know English, and I mean, they were not even devotees, right? But Maharaj just was attracted to the simplicity of their heart. And we would drive him from our place at Malad, where we used to stay earlier, and take him to this pharmacy, which was about 4-5 kilometers away. And he would go and sit with these simple pharmacy people, right? And he would chat with them in the language, like he would chat with the Brajbasis, He would chat with them languages, unknown language, and there would still be communication. They would just gather around Maharaj, as I said before, like, bees coming in. They are so attracted to Maharaj's purity. There was no communication. Here was a man who was from Chicago, America. Here people from, rustic people from some villages of Maharashtra. And yet there's a connectivity. There's a beautiful connectivity. So we could see the power of love. The power of love is beyond, language, beyond externals, beyond anything of this world. It's just a combination of the heart. Very simple people, right? So the simplicity of Maharaj has been very endearing. You can never see Maharaj walking around with an aura around him and, having a big entourage of 15 people around. Like, a big guy comes, like in the hospital, we have people who comes with some, local political leader comes in, or some Nagar Seva comes in, or some MLA comes in. We'll have, entourage of 4-5 people come with, all with, maybe a guys come with some amount of, with the bodybuilders who are coming in. But Maharaj, wherever he is, he just doesn't want to have people around him, just walks all alone. In fact, we were at Kanyakumari. I just remember this past time, Kanyakumari, and at that time there was some sort of a disturbance going on where this whole thing had happened about the terrorist attack in Mumbai, and therefore devotees were a little concerned. Gopichandra Vallabh Prabhu was in charge of security systems, that anybody who was with a foreign body, the foreign skin, was a little bit off, would come in the eyes of the people, and they wanted to be careful that, Americans should not be in any way, especially American sadhus will be very prominent, and they should not be getting into trouble. So we were at the time in Kanyakumari, and what they did is that they wanted to protect Maharaj, because there were some sort of people who are, because we were like 5,000 people, and somebody can just get into the crowd as a devotee, put a tilak, and do some mischief, and do something which is unwanted, and something which is could be dangerous for Maharaj's life. So they organized themselves in such a way that Maharaj would be walking, and there would be a cordon of devotees around him, and people wearing the safaris who are carrying, things which could be there important for protecting Maharaj. And as Maharaj would see that this was totally different than previous yatras, because Maharaj was not used to just getting cordoned off like that. And, so when he was cordoned off like that, he could not sort of approach the people. He could not really, when people were standing around him, he could not meet devotees. He could not one-to-one connect to them. And Maharaj in the night called for this devotee who was organizing this whole security system. He said, I want to stop the yatra. Tomorrow I'm going flying back to Mumbai. Right? I said, Maharaj, what happened? Right? He said, in a yatra, I come to connect myself with devotees, and devotees come into yatra to connect with me, right? If all you guys are going to be cording off me without turning from meeting the devotees, then I'm not interested in the yatra, right? I don't believe in the organization system. And Maharaj diffused of the whole thing. He put himself in that bit of a danger, took that risk, because for him, yatra meant connecting with Krishna's devotees and allowing Krishna's devotees to connect with him. So that's how wonderful he is, that his simple heart would not allow all these complexities taking place around him, but just simply, yatra means Vaishnava association, Vaishnava Sangha. We were sitting in Maharaj's room one day, and sannyasis wear a lungi, right? They wear a lungi, his saffron lungi, and one portion around his knee, his lungi was torn, and I saw that and said, Maharaj, your lungi is torn. I mean, we should do something about it, right? A guru should not be wearing a torn cloth. As Maharaj said, it is all right, it's wonderful. It makes me feel like a simple sadhu. So, for him, is that the simplicity of his room, the simplicity of his behavior, simplicity of his demeanor, right? Is just simple. In a yatra, we were in a particular yatra, and a big long line of devotees standing for prasadam. It was around 4 o'clock. It was a late lunch for us that day. And the kirtan had gone on, or whatever, the katha had gone on long. The long line was there. Maharaj also not taking his prasadam. And amazingly enough, what we saw, and we were all amazed to see that, like it is 4 o'clock, your lunch time is usually 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and everyone is like hungry, right? But you would probably want to, break the line and stand somewhere, and, and said, Prabhuji, how are you? Hare Krishna, and get into somebody's life. And meet a friend and just gusofy, into the line. And Maharaj just came down the bus, or maybe his car, it came out, and simply like anybody else, went and stood there behind the line, as he was just one of the people standing yatra. There's a long line, he just stood there waiting for his turn to take prasadam with everybody else. And we were like shocked. How can Maharaj do this? He needs to just come in front, take his plate, take the prasadam, and just walk off. But he thinks that he is just one of us. And he doesn't, as you say in English, he doesn't throw his weight around, right? Like a big devotee, you throw a weight around, or a senior devotee, or a counselor, or a leader, whatever, you throw a weight around, right? Make people know that you are Haribol, you are so and so. But whether if you're a global leader, whatever you are, just in the line like anybody else, right? So this simplicity of Maharaj is something which is very, very special to see. He's just a humble devotee, and that makes him even more attractive, because actually Krishna loves simple devotees. Krishna loves the cow more than anybody else in the world, because that cow is just a symbol of simplicity. Mahaprabhu Chaitanya loves Shuklamar Brahmachari, the simple beggar, right? Simple beggar, and therefore Mahaprabhu loves him. Ramchandra loves Shabari, who's just a simple, old lady in the jungles. So this is a quality which we need to imbibe, that however we grow senior or whatever leadership roles we play, whatever we do, just keep ourselves very simple, rank and file devotee,
Grounded.
Be very grounded. You are, the society of devotees may put you in a position, but you want to always remain grounded. And I'll end with a small analogy, which Mara explained beautifully. At the Gopinath temple earlier, some of you remember having coming here in the older days before, now it is very ornate and very, Italian marble on both sides and special flooring, etc. There used to be 2 waterfalls in front of the deities. They were rock-like, what do you call this? Fiber rocks made, stacked up in both sides. And there's a motorized water system whereby water would go up and then would start cascading down. The sound of the cascading water is very pleasant to the lordships, right? So the lordship would get that, sound of cascading water and give the Lord's pleasure. So Maharaj looking at this waterfall, 2 waterfalls on both sides, give a beautiful analogy which I often want to remember. Maharaj said, the devotees are wonderful and they always want to glorify you. They want to speak your good glories and your good achievements, and they will uplift you, right? Prabhuji, you are wonderful. Prabhuji, you are this. Mataji, you are that. So they will say so many nice things about you, and in one sense they are uplifting you, right? They are raising you. So it's like the water going up. But what is the natural tendency of water? When water goes up, again it always finds a lower position and it comes back to baseline. So however high devotees put you, or a society puts you, or the role you play, you're president, you are this, you are that, temple commander, this one in charge, you get a position. But what is the actual position of the water? You just cascade and come down. And that's what a devotee should be. Just come down and be simple.
So we just want to end by, as in the beginning, Prabhuji said that it's our great fortune to be connected to Maharaj. And all of us, we know that the fact that we are existing in Krishna consciousness is simply because of the mercy of Maharaj. Like many times when Maharaj would come from US and you just are standing around, when he looks at you, it feels as if that Maharaj is saying, thank you for still being around. Unspoken words, but you feel, thank you for still being around. And the only reason is because Maharaj within his heart, whoever he gives shelter to, he is always praying for us and he's always protecting us through his devotion. You see when he's chanting his rounds in the temple, he's chanting so intently. Obviously, Maharaj is chanting. He might say, I'm chanting for my own purification, but he is intensely praying for each and every one of us. And the fact that we are still existing as devotees and alive, even in such situation as COVID, if you would take it, protection is not only on the, different levels of protection is there. Protecting our devotion, protecting our bhakti, protecting us from committing offenses, or protecting our bodies itself also. It is such a, if we are alive also today, each one of us has to just thank. And just 2 days back was 26/11, which was a very memorable day for us in Bombay. In a bad way, it was memorable because that was the day when that big terrorist attack had taken place here. So somehow they were just circulating one devotee's message. One of the devotees who was a constable during that terrorist attack, and he himself writes his own realization of how by Guru's mercy, he was only protected. He writes that he had been dispatched by the police to go and attack the terrorist who was on the first floor, and he was down along with his 2-3 other colleagues, and they were in open, but the terrorist was inside the dark room and they could not see. He could attack them at anyhow. He was dodging them from second floor, third floor, going up and down through the duplex place, and he was down, and suddenly one hand grenade came and there was a huge black smoke. And he remembered Maharaj and he started chanting Narsinga prayers. Right? He had narrated this to us before also when we had personally met him. And when the smoke got cleared up, he saw his other colleagues were lying dead around him, but he was still alive. And he's saying how in his heart he was feeling that by Guru and Krishna's mercy alone he was protected. And it was not only him. On 26/11 of that particular year, we were celebrating Maharaj's Vyas Puja by Tithi at Srinathji Prabhu's house. And Srinathji Prabhu's house is very close to the temple, and we all counselors and few other devotees, we were at Srinathji Prabhu's house when all these shooting the sound and the bomb blast and all the sounds were coming. But because we were in the program, Maharaj was doing kirtan and lecture, we thought that it is only some marriage procession going, some patakas are happening. But we didn't know these were gunshots. We thought they were firecrackers. And suddenly Srinathji Prabhu got the news from one of his office people that such and such attack has taken place. So Srinathji Prabhu told everybody that nobody leave from here, everybody remain in my house only today night. When things get cleared tomorrow morning, you can go, And it was a Wednesday, and we had our dressing seva on Thursday morning. A few of us who had seva, we were there. Krishnanam Prabhu was there, Tulsi Manjari Mataji, 2 of us, so 4 of us were there. And we waited for few hours, and then we thought, okay, now things must have subsided, and temple is quite close. So we took the car and we rushed to the temple. We said we'll just get into the temple so that tomorrow morning dressing seva we can continue to do. So we came down Valkeshwar and the car stopped there because it was barricaded. And Dwarakadhish was sitting in the front seat, and all of a sudden, these police people came with a gun and they're right on him, on Dwarakadhish with the gun. And because that fellow had escaped in a Skoda car, right? and some qualis was also following, and I think we were in a qualis. So they asked, "Okay, where, I mean, nobody's out on the roads, you would be out of your brains to be there." But somehow or the other, you didn't use our brains, and foolishly we came out. And then we told, okay, we are going to the temple vagara. They let us go, and as soon as we entered the temple, we heard gunshots and all outside. And that was the time, at that same Chopati area, Kasab was caught, and this one police fellow was fired, and in crossfiring he died. And a lot of back and forth took place, and just this was around. And this program initially was supposed to be at Patidar Samaj, which is a hall which is like a 3-minute walk from the temple. And Prasadam was supposed to be in the temple, Gopinath temple. So if the program was not at Srinathji Prabhu's house and it was there, then all the devotees would have been walking down from Patidar Samaj to Gopinath temple during this time when the terrorist was around there and would have been attacked, and somebody or the other would have been killed by the gunshot. So every devotee had that realization that all of us are simply protected by Maharaj's love for us, by Maharaj's concern, and Maharaj's prayers for protection for all those who are depending on him. Right? Protection is at different levels, but this we all had experience personally. And not only this, recently there was a announcement that there is a big cyclone which Bombay was supposed to be hit by, and everybody was asked to be indoors and this and that, and news had reached Maharaj, and Maharaj had sent a message, voice message to all the devotees here, that I am praying for the devotees, and please take care, or something, written message or voice message, something was there. And all devotees are waiting, okay, now cyclone will come, now cyclone will come. But next day we came to know that cyclone was completely aimed towards Bombay, but suddenly took a U-turn and went away towards Gujarat. It went away that side. And everybody again had that realization. And Maharaj was praying that even a physical cyclone did not come this way, and it just went away that way. So, what to talk, that we all feel so grateful being under Maharaj's shelter, that we are all protected, and we really pray that we always realize the value of what we have got. We don't take these things for granted. And occasions such as these, Vyas Puja, when it comes, and inviting devotees and discussing, actually we feel grateful to you all that you gave us an opportunity to go a little deeper in realizing that what is the connection of a spiritual master and a disciple. So thank you for that opportunity, and very grateful to all of you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
We can have some Q&A, Prabhuji. Or...
Yeah, you can questions. One or two.
One-
So, Prabhuji, like it's always like enlightening and enriching, and also entertaining as well to hear Maharaj's Katha. And we are also really feeling fortunate to be associated with you all, connected with you all. And the way you have been stretching, and I see Mataji is not, I think, healthy, right? But still she is stretching so much, and and we are really indebted. And also, as you were narrating as well, whenever you visit Bangalore or any other city, and I remember like we met in Houston also, I think 3 years back, I remember. And there also, or wherever you go, like you have a really packed program, all the devotees really look forward to connect with you and really hear from you, like your realizations or your interactions with Maharaj and so on. And like they have a really sometimes high expectation from you, like how do you really because live up to those right standards set by Maharaj, because sometimes it's a really too much, like sometimes for us also we feel that it's very difficult, right, like to like please Maharaj, because his standards are so high and his expectation also is so high. And like to be simple is the most difficult. So how do you like you have been doing very exemplary way, like as you said, like following the footsteps and following the mood of Maharaj. But for us, like who, like, yes, we are hearing, and from hearing we get to know the mood of Maharaj, but sometimes it feels overwhelming as actually, right? To even dream and to think and to meditate, contemplate, right? Like if we are doing it right, if we are really pleasing Maharaj, if we are really pleasing our senior God brothers or our bigger family, so like, uh, how should we really go about?
One thing which I found useful, which we have both have been doing, is you're talking about you said the word mood of Maharaj, right? The mood of Maharaj is something which is people talk about that mood of Maharaj many times, and it seems that only people who are physically with him would be able to understand this mood of Maharaj. It is our conviction that those devotees who have been hearing him regularly, right? Because when Maharaj speaks, actually, and this is important for all of us to narrate here, at one program at Patidar Samaj, Patidar Samaj, she mentioned about Patidar Samaj is a nice community hall, private hall close to our temple, just 3 minutes from our temple. And he had invited all the counselors to come there. He wanted to share his heart with the counselors at that time, right? And there was a time when, for a long time, there were no initiatives had stopped. Some of you may have noted that for about 4 or 5 years, Maharaj had not offered initiation to aspiring disciples who were waiting like for a long time. There were something like more than 1,000 people, devotees from all over the world, waiting for his taking formal shelter from him through Diksha. And Maharaj explained something very profound and very wonderful. Maharaj said, those devotees who have taken shelter of me and those who are aspiring to take, Diksha from me should understand one thing very clearly, that it will not be possible for me to give them personal time, right? Because sometimes devotees start comparing what senior devotees or older devotees may have got, right? And they start thinking, oh, we are not the fortunate types. We didn't get that. And I mean, you guys got it. We didn't get it, right? So that comparison puts them in a state of melancholy, makes them sad. And then think, then, oh, does the Maharaj even know me? I took Diksha from him 3 years back or 5 years back. Does he even know me? Does he even remember me? Does he even connect to me? So it came to a point where somebody was, when Maharaj was, there's a long line of devotees who were signing the journey home after a program. And so he would, Maharaj would look at the person and said, so you sign autographs, so blessings or to whom Dwarakadhish das, may Krishna bless you, like that. So he looked up to somebody and said, so what's your name? So he said his name and said, Maharaj, you don't remember me? I'm your disciple. You don't know my name? So it was so embarrassing and so hurting to see that. I mean, how would somebody who has 5,000 and more disciples would remember somebody's name, right? So it is not like a person who has a computer brain who just remember, when I look at you, I know that I give Diksha 6 years back at this temple, and I know your name was Phala Phala Das and Phala Phala Dasi, right? So that happened 2 or 3 times, and Maharaj became very withdrawn, because he goes, that people are expecting emotional gratification, which I cannot offer because that cannot take place. But he said, if you want spiritual connection with me, that's completely available, because when I speak, and Maharaj said this very clearly with great emphasis, great firmness, and great genuinity, when I speak anything from the Vyasasana, I put my heart, my soul, my very existence, whatever I speak, right? And when I speak for everyone in the audience, right? And those of people who hear sincerely will be able to see and feel a personal connection with me, right? So it is like the sun, and I could immediately understand what Maharaj was trying to say. Like the sun is there. The sun is not rising for you or for him or for her or for they. The sun is rising for everybody. But if you have to connect to the sun, you have to come out of the window and just connect to the sun. And the sun is available for you also, as much as for somebody else. But if you prefer to stay in a dark place, the sun is not available to you if the sun is shining there, right? Similarly, the spiritual master speaks. He speaks for all of us, right? And because it is a spiritual connection, it does not depend upon material identity. He doesn't have to know your name or her name.
This is such an important point, because many times we take our relationship with our spiritual master on a material platform, on a mundane way. We have to understand that we have a spiritual connection with the Guru. If he
soul.
knows my name or no, that's okay, but he knows my soul. He's taken charge of my soul, whether in whichever situation I am. That is a faith which we have to have in that. So because we are from the material world, we see everything in a material way. That happens to all of us. We see it like that. So these occasions like Vyas Puja are to understand that how can I deepen my relationship in a spiritual way with him, not on a material way, to write a, to be able to go and speak a Vyas Puja offering. That sometimes people feel that even on a physical Vyas Puja, when Guru Maharaj is there, and even if we go there, we are not given an opportunity to give a Vyas Puja offering. But that those are just words which may be coming out in front of the Guru, right? But does the Guru not know our heart? He knows that. And if we feel that no, he doesn't know, that means we have not understood Guru disciple relationship. We are taking it in a very, 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 very mundane way, right? So this is where our maturity and our Krishna consciousness comes. That some places now you would not want to speak about Maharaj, because people will say, oh, look, they got so much time with Maharaj. But it is not, we just happen to be around. Whoever would have been there at that time, they would have got this. So Maharaj had a little more time available at that time. We were there at that time. So it just happened to be, okay. But the instructions or whatever understanding is there is not for one to one, but it is meant for everybody.
Universal.
And they are universal principles, right? So again, as Prabhuji said, that we have to try to establish our connection to understand the mood of Guru simply by hearing him more and more. The more we will base our relationship on Guru with this, on this level, then the deeper devotees we will be able to remain for posterity, because spiritual master physically is there, but sometime he may not be around. He may not even be on the planet. But if we have not based our relationship in a more grounded way on the spiritual principles, we will not be able to remain Krishna conscious. Like it happened with so many Prabhupada disciples. Those who are only attached to the physical thing to get from them, and this term has been used as Guru Bhogi. We want to be Guru Bhogis. In what way? Okay, we want to harp on our thing. Oh, you know what? I am Radhanath Swami disciple. So feather in my cap, But how does that make us a better devotee? Just by being Radhanath Swami disciple is not the tag that we want to carry around. Or, I am with Maharaj at preaching programs, and, I was with Maharaj since so many years. Since the 1980s, I have been with Maharaj. What is the use? If I'm not able to practice my Krishna conscious principles or what is expected, and it is nothing big that spiritual master is expecting from us, okay, to keep up to the standard, in the sense that he doesn't ask each one a different thing. The main basic things which is expecting us to do is follow our initiation vows, which we have taken, the chanting 16 rounds, following 4 regulative principles, and rendering some service to our capacity in the mission, right? Isn't that is what is the expectation of the spiritual master, our spiritual master from us? So it is no rocket science to be able to figure out, okay, actually I don't know what Maharaj expects out of me. This is what he's expecting, though he never asks us. He trusts us in that. Okay, you will be chanting your 16 rounds, you would be doing this, but to remind ourselves and reinforce what Maharaj is expecting out of us, that's when we need to hear Maharaj regularly.
So I think when we were at Bangalore, we had mentioned this to some of you when we came to your homes and maybe in some program also. And I find this very useful. So I can honestly, with a humble heart, share that every Vaishnava of our wonderful God family that we all have, it is absolutely essential, just like air is to the lungs and water is to our body, for our physical survival. So also hearing the spiritual master daily for, I would say, a quota, a minimum dose of about half an hour every day, right? So bathing our consciousness and our intellect, in our inner self, on the nectarine words of Maharaj, right, which are so profoundly spoken with such depth. When a pure devotee speaks, he actually is revealing the content of his consciousness to the outside world. What is private to him is becoming more public. It is coming out, right? So it is Maharaj's heart It is not coming from his throat or from his tongue, or from his lips, going from his very heart. And where is the heart? Heart is the place where Krishna resides. Sarvasam Riddhi Sanivishto, right? So it is Krishna has inspired those words and thoughts and relations in Maharaj's heart. When he is speaking, it is Krishna's inspired realizations in Maharaj's heart coming out for all of us. And therefore, hearing him is connection with Maharaj and with Krishna. It's a two-in-one thing, right? And therefore, some of you who are doing this regularly would have really felt that simply by hearing Maharaj regularly, it keeps the consciousness fixed on the goal, right? Because there are unlimited diversions which the material world provides all the time, distractions and problems and stresses and challenges and this and that, and health issues. So many things keep on diverting us here and there. But just by hearing Maharaj, right, with a receptive heart, they're not a mechanical, but there is a receptive heart, keeps us steadfast in terms of the short-term and the long-term goals we need to have in Krishna consciousness.
And many of us must have had that experience. I'm sure Mahalakshmi, today she's able to smile like this with all the situation that she's gone through, simply because she regularly, at that time when she was going through that difficult phase, I remember she would just rush to Radha Gopinath temple, and wherever Maharaj was, whether it's Yatra, and just expose yourself to Guru Vani, right? And that protection which comes, myself, I have also gone through, not as difficult situations as Mahalakshmi or some other devotees might have gone through. But if you have some difficulty and you just put on Maharaj's lecture, whether that class is relevant to you now or no, but the love of Maharaj, the concern of Maharaj in his voice itself is a soothing balm, and it helps us to refocus our consciousness and readjust our mind to the difficulties which we might be going through. I was just in fact sharing with Prabhuji. I said, if we are leaving our body and we are unconscious now, just put Maharaj's lecture on, whether we are hearing, not hearing, understanding, not understanding. His words will do the needful to us, That is the power in Maharaj's words.
Yeah.
Is that okay, Sudhir Gopal Prabhu?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes.
It's a serious note to end on, but at the same time, it is, I think, a parting discussion which we must is like carry home sort of thing, right? Where Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitte Te Koriyo Aikya, right? And the essence of the spiritual master is revealed through his words. And Maharaj is writing some good news. Maharaj is writing some more books now. We already have been relishing Journey Home, and you see the wisdom and the depth of Journey Within. That's a powerful book, because you read 1 or 2 pages and it's loaded with so much of not just information but realization. And Maharaj is now writing a few more books for his worldwide audience now. So yeah, things are Maharaj. And of course, you may have seen Maharaj made himself very available during this Corona times. He gave out so many talks, gave out so many programs, and so many more people. So even though he's staying in his house in isolation, in a very simple house, he doesn't have a fancy palace to stay, in a simple house that he was staying earlier in Chicago. He's staying there alone, maybe just making his own khichdi. He's such a person, but he's just making his own khichdi every day, cleaning his own vessels, cleaning his own kitchen, buying his own bhoga. He's leading a very simple sadhu life, but at the same time, giving himself out far and wide to a world audience to somehow bring some sanity in this world and fulfill Prabhupada's mission of making the world Krishna conscious. So how wonderful is that? How wonderful is that we are somehow, and he's our spiritual father. He's our father, and a father obviously loves all his sons, so and all his daughters. So we are his sons and daughters, and we have Prabhupada as our grandfather. And let's always keep this at the top of our minds, that no matter what we go through, that reality will always remain, that we will never ever lose his shelter to the extent we continue to remain faithful to his words. The shelter will be Krishna's shelter, and no matter what we go through our life, the shelter can never be taken away from all of us. Shri Guru Padashraya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Can we end, Prabhu?
Okay, Mataji. Okay, Mataji. So
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Very cool. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Amazing.
Nice to see all of you. Where is Shama Manjari, Prabhuji?
Mataji, I'll call her Mataji. Mataji,
Just for darshan. Braj Chandrika, Hari Bol, Dandavad.
Thank you so much for sharing Guru Maharaj's heart with us.
Oh, you
Guru
have
Maharaj
realized it. We
and
are
like
just
he
sharing.
said, a new mantra is Om Zoom. So
Huh?
Maharaj said in one of the recent, last 2-3 months ago, he said our mantra is Om Zoom now.
Everybody is just zooming
Thank you so
around.
much for coming through Zoom and blessing us like this. Really grateful. And I was just thinking like what all you told us, like encompassing all of his things that are attracting us and endearing us. Like Prabhuji reminded us that Guru Maharaj is the moon of our lives, and how we have to be grateful and appreciate that we have this blessing. And talking about Maharaj's simplicity and his love, and amazing. So thank you so much. I just remember this one thing which I often just think of this, that how you really understand and know Guru Maharaj's heart. Amataji and Prabhuji, are you still there?
They left, I think. They are not there, Mataji.
Okay. Can you check Mataji, Kumardev Mataji? Because they wanted to meet Syama Manjari Mataji. So.
Prabhuji, Mataji already saw her, so
Okay. Can check quickly.
Okay, maybe I'll just share this anyways because there's so much of their glory. They were talking about understanding Guru Maharaj's heart. I remember one year for Gaur Purnima, we would go to Chowpatty for Gaur Purnima and we would stay there. And 1 year, like behind the temple where the Guru Parampara and all are there, there is a staircase. Maharaj, as usual, he gave his Gaur Purnima lecture. He spoke till 3:30 in the afternoon. And then after that, everybody was here and there. And I was trying to go to that room. There are rooms behind where we would stay that time. As you come up the stairs,
They're
you go.
connecting back. Mataji, they are connecting
Okay.
back.
Then should I just hold on?
Yeah. Because there was a battery problem. So
Okay.
battery got disconnected. They are connected.
It's so nice to see all of you also.
So once again, I would like to remind all the devotees that yes, so we have December month. That's the blessed appearance month of Maharaj. So we are planning for many more programs. So we'll let you know maybe during this week what is our plan. So at the same time, what the devotees can be prepared for is our Vyas Puja celebration that we have on 19th and 20th. So 19th is a really public Vyas Puja program where we'll have the fortune of associating with His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Maharaj, and 20th we'll have His Grace Radha Gopinath Pro. So I would request all the devotees to please join enthusiastically and take advantage of it, and especially on Sunday. If you are not able to cover the offerings on Saturday from the devotees, we'll have the offering by the devotees or the disciples or aspiring disciples on Sunday. So all the devotees are requested because it's a special year. So we can share our heartfelt gratitude. And as Prabhuji mentioned earlier, the two topics, how we can increase our appreciation of our good fortune or great fortune of being associated with Maharaj, and also how we can be more and more conscious of the value of the treasure that, so based on these two topics, we can share our offering on 19th and 20th.
Are you all having physical Vyas Puja?
No, Mataji, it's a Zoom only, Vyas Puja only.
Okay.
So we are planning to celebrate 2 days, like one day, like first day with Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Maharaj, and also all the local leaders and so on. And the next day, because we wanted to give opportunity for all the disciples and aspiring disciples to also share their offering. So we'll have also second day as well, and that also we'll have right for all the devotees, and especially only for Maharaj disciples or aspiring disciples. And then we'll have our Radha Gopinath Prabhu to address us on that day.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mahalakshmi Mataji wanted to say.
Yes, I was just wanting to share. You were talking about Guru Maharaj's mood. So I'm not sure if.
Yes, Mataji, we can hear you.
Are they still there?
Yes,
Yes,
yes, we are there. We just got
Okay, Hari,
logged
I
off
cannot see you.
somehow.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I was just thinking you were talking about this Guru Maharaj's mood. You understand this so well. I was just telling this 1 year for Gaur Purnima festival. This must be some years ago, many years ago. And there used to be the Mataji's room when we climbed that steps from the backside where the Guru Parampara is now. The right side, we could go inside. There was one room for Mataji. So I think I was there. And Maharaj gave his class as usual till 3:30, and then everybody dispersed and things were happening. And I just wanted to go to that room. So I went that side and I saw Maharaj was standing there and you both were standing and talking to Maharaj. So I thought, okay, I'll come back after some time. So I went somewhere, came back. You were still standing and talking to Maharaj. I thought this happened for about 40 minutes or so, if not more. I would go and come back. I wanted to go inside and there is that passage. And you were standing and talking to Maharaj. And I was thinking, nobody can be envious of this. To be standing there and talking to Maharaj for so long, you have to really understand his mood, his heart, and you have to really be carrying him in your heart. So thank you so much for always showing us
Hari Bol
the
Mahalakshmi
example
ji.
how we need to be. I'm very grateful for you for sharing all this that you have shared today. Very beautiful, very sweet, and very inspiring.
Amazing, you all have enthusiasm. Every week you all are, I mean, I believe every 15 days you all are having somebody or the other speaking to you all about this Maharaj's this thing, right?
maybe saturated with the love for Maharaj by now.
Oh, Prabhuji,
Yeah.
nothing like what you have.
Okay. Should we log off?
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji and Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji and Prabhuji.
Thank you.
We always look forward to hear. So I know we wanted to hear more, but maybe sometime once again in New Year.
We are
2020.
missing physical meeting in Bangalore this time. We'll catch
Yes.
up some other time.
Yes, Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Dandavat Pranam. Hari Bol.
Thank you very much.
And
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare
Thank you very much, Vijay.
Goodness.
Hare Krishna.
Guru Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhya sindhu
Satinam Padnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah.
Definitely, we wanted to end all our programs with kirtan, but yeah, I think we wanted to also respect everybody's time. But once again, I would really like to thank all the devotees, right, for enthusiastically joining and really inspiring us to continue these programs. Thank you very much.
Hari, thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Very well. So, this program was possible because of Kumaradaya Mataji. She really facilitated this meeting. So, thank Mataji.
It's all by your inspiration, Prabhuji. You are backing me up and you are giving glory to me. That is not correct, but I was just an instrument.
Thank you very much.
Prabhuji, we are recovering for the lost ground. Pre-COVID days, we couldn't associate with the devotees, direct devotees of Maharaj like this. So a lot of ground is lost. So we are recovering. Still far behind. Thank you so much.